What's up? Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well on this fine Monday evening. Welcome back to the stream. Today we're doing something different. Uh, we're gonna have to figure it out together as we go, but we're doing something different. I was gonna do a regular Genshin stream, but then I really felt like writing a song, which is something I haven't done in a very long time. Probably like 2 months or so since I've actually written a song, properly at least. So I figured I'd change that, but since I didn't want to not stream, I figured I'd give it a little try to do something that I had already planned to do eventually on stream, which is songwriting. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be trying to write a song from scratch, and we'll see how it goes. I have a rough idea planned out that I came up with in the shower like half an hour ago. So that's what we're going to go off of. It's going to be a pretty standard heavy metal track, nothing fancy or anything. But yeah, that's what we're going with. So before we get into it, let's say a quick prayer, and then we're probably going to have to do some troubleshooting before we actually start. Because I need to make sure you guys can see and hear everything properly. So, yeah. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Alright, so I'm taking you guys to a new screen here. If I can figure it out. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Also, good evening, Android. Okay, so this is where the magic happens. We're gonna have to test out a couple things before we actually get started, just to make sure you guys can hear and see everything. We should be able to see it. We're just gonna have to figure out if you can hear it properly. If it's too loud, if it's too quiet, I'm gonna have to fix all of that. So. For starters, let me know if you guys can hear this metronome. Actually, I can check that myself on the stream tab. Okay, it looks like the metronome is good. Good evening, Inyabi. Okay, now let's get some drums going. Let's see if you guys can hear that. And while as we go, let me know if it's too loud or too quiet or anything like that. Let's get some basic drums going. All right, we got a basic drums there. Now I'm going to turn on the guitar sound, and there's going to be one guitar sound inside of the program, which is only going to be heard after I record it when I play it back. And I have a different one that's going directly into the streaming software. That is, anything I play is going to sound here. So I hope they're not going to be doubled, but I can mute the second one manually if need be. So let's just see if it works first. All right, let me see if I can hear that on stream. Okay, looks like it's working. Piss off, Malwarebytes. Alright, I think everything's working. So let's get into the first step, which is tuning your guitar. Okay, we're tuned. Wanted to make sure I showed that, not because I forgot to do it beforehand, although I did forget to do it beforehand, but because it's an annoying but necessary part, so I don't want to leave it out. Okay, so I had a basic idea for the song. It's nothing too fancy or difficult. I just had a rough idea for an opening riff that is quite generic but effective. It sounded something like this. Although I'm not sure I want to do all of that with chords. I think I'm going to do some single notes in there, so maybe something like this. Something like that. I don't know, we'll figure it out. Presets, Malmsteen 1, Malmsteen 1 Clean, Megadeth, yep, the certified Richie Roxx classic. Yeah, I got a couple different tones. Although the one I'm using currently is none of those. The one I'm using currently is kind of like a George Lynch type tone, but I think it's a little dirtier. I thought musicians composed their songs with acoustic guitars. Sometimes. It's usually more for melodic or open chord stuff. For like metal riffs and stuff, you usually just play it on the electric because they're usually very difficult to play on the acoustic. They're very different instruments. So if you're just playing metal guitar, it's easier to just do it on a metal guitar. All right, so first we gotta set the tempo. find a tempo that we're happy with. Let me change that kick pattern to something. I think the tempo is pretty good. I think the tempo is pretty good to start at 140. We can go faster, if we need to. So let's just play around this tempo and try to find something that sounds good in this ballpark. Okay, I think the tempo is pretty good to start. So now what I do is I just jot that down, like that opening riff idea, and like in its most basic form, and from there on we can start to make variations or different endings to it. We can basically turn it into a little piece of Lego that we can copy and paste and modify as we need to. So let's do that. Let's just jot down that basic idea and then we'll work with it. Hold on. Why is my recording disabled? Do I have it? Oh, there we go. My input wasn't selected. Okay. Why is it doubled? It should be just one track. Whatever. Let's give it a shot. Let's see if it works. Okay, looks like it's worked. So now I'll put it here in one of the guitar channels, and you'll see that it's going to sound very nicely on the left side of your headphones. Okay, so now what we do is we do that again. We record another one of the same thing. There we go. And now that one's going to sound very nicely on the right side of your ears. Or rather, your right ear, the right side of your headphones, I should say. So I'll mute this one for a second. And now you can hear it on the other side. And then when I turn on both of them, you can hear that it sounds much, much, much fuller, like a proper track. I know Andre Ulbrich composes with his normal Ibanez electric. Yeah, it varies a lot from musician to musician, honestly. Some musicians even compose on piano and stuff, and then they take their ideas to guitar. It changes a lot. Depends on the type of music, depends on the musician, depends on your mood. Like sometimes I just compose like MIDI as well, like just on like an organ or a piano on the computer as well before I try to record anything. All right, so now what we're gonna do, what if one of the two is slightly delayed? I can just adjust it. I can just move it back and forth so that they're in sync. I can just edit that. Or if it's way out of sync, like because I played poorly, I can just re-record it. Like if the recording is just bad and it's really out of tempo, then I can just re-record it. But yeah, they're not supposed to be like perfectly identical, because if they're perfectly identical, they would cancel each other out. Music is like sound waves are like, if you have two sound waves that are exactly identical, they cancel each other out. So if I just copied this one over here, like the same one, the same exact one, you're gonna see that it's gonna sound very weird. Even more so without the distortion, because the distortion itself adds some randomness to it. Like you can tell that it sounds very like weird. It just sounds very thin, and when you have two different tracks, they complement each other because you're playing the same thing, but there's little differences from one recording to another, little imperfections that when added together sound full. It's kind of like a choir. Like if you think of it as a choir, you have like, I don't know, 10 people singing the same thing, but they all have different voices, and they're all going to be like a little bit out of tune with each other. And that's what complements the sound and makes it sound so big and so full, because they're not singing exactly the same. They all have different voice textures, and they're all like slightly out of tune with each other. If it's too out of tune, then it sounds terrible. But if it's just a little bit out of tune, then that makes it sound fuller and more harmonic. Like if I were to take one of these and I were to re-pitch it, like say I pitch it down by one semitone, then it's going to sound terrible, because then it's just the wrong notes. It's just like completely out of tune. You see, now it sounds like your speakers are breaking. Anyways, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to record some bass for this. I don't have a bass guitar, so here's what I do to record my bass. Also, good evening, Jug. I probably won't be able to input much, but I'm listening to a stream in the background. Alright, man, hope you enjoy it. So the way I record bass, since I don't have a bass guitar, is I just record it on guitar, and then I pitch it down an octave, because that's kind of what a bass is. So we're just going to play the same thing. Instead of playing the chords, I'm going to play single notes, and then we're just going to pitch it down, and it's going to sound like a bass. Watch this. Now, on the guitar, that sounded kind of bad, because I wasn't muting any of the notes, and I was playing single notes only, no chords. But when I line it up here with the rest, I put it through a cleaner bass amp, which is what this channel is, and I drop it down by 12 semitones, or an octave, which is the same thing. you're going to see that it sounds like a bass, and it's going to complement the guitars, and it's going to sound very full and very heavy now. Here's just the bass. And there we go. There's bass. Let there be bass. Okay, so now what's the next step? Well, the next step would be to probably add a different ending to the last section here so that we can move into a different section. So I'm going to remove this part here. From here, I'm going to go a different way. So I'm thinking about doing, instead of doing this, I think I'm going to go up, and I'm going to make a slightly different rhythm. So that's going to lead us into the like a different section. Something like that. I kind of like the chromatic there at the end, the little. I think it adds a nice touch to the end. Although I could also do like something like that, but I think that's a little more generic. So I think I'm gonna go with the chromatic. Let's give that a shot. Let's do the second track already so we can tell with everything together. Played wrong award. All right, now let's do the bass. Played wrong award. We don't need to let the note ring at the end there because we're going to cut it off anyways when we record the next part. So we're just going to focus on the chunk that we're doing currently. Everything else will come as we get to it. Make sure these are synced. You can tell here by the format, like the shape of the sound waves. The loudest parts are basically at the start of the note. Like when you hit the note, it's the loudest part. So that's how you can sync it up. Like you can tell, like this is a note, this is a note, this is a chord, this is a note, chord, note, chord, and stuff. So it's, you know, you can sync it up like that. You can try to make it line up as much as possible. Sometimes they'll be a little delayed or like a little delayed or a little early. It doesn't matter too much unless you're trying to sound like a very modern very overproduced band, which is kind of common nowadays. But I don't really care for that. I like a kind of raw sound, which is easier to do, and it sounds better in my opinion. So let's listen to this new alternative ending, Everything Together. There we go. So now the question is, where do we go from here? If we're assuming this is an intro, we're probably going to be going into a chorus. I mean, not a chorus. We're probably going to be going into a verse. So the question is, do we want to go straight into the verse, or do we want to add a little fill before? That depends usually on what the verse is. So I think I'll do the verse, and if we feel like it needs a little filler in between, we can add it afterwards. So for the verse, I'm gonna keep the same drums, but instead of these open hi-hats, I'm gonna go for some closed hi-hats. So it's a little bit less intense, because the verse is gonna have to, you know, ideally if you're recording vocals, you're gonna want to leave some space for the vocals. So you try to make everything else a little bit quieter. And it's also for dynamic purposes. So you have a little bit of a quieter section that makes the louder section beforehand hit harder, and the other louder section that's going to come afterwards is also going to hit harder. By the way, when I asked what if one of the sides was slightly delayed, I asked wanting to listen or suggesting something. You mean like you want to hear what it sounds like if it's slightly delayed? It's just gonna sound bad because it's gonna be time. Like, it'll sound like this. Like, the part that's in time sounds normal. It's the part that your brain focuses on. And then the out of sync just feels like noise in your other ear. Okay, so here for the verse, we're gonna keep it simple. We're just gonna have some basic rhythm. We're gonna have some chord stabs at the end, and then we're gonna bring back a tiny bit of the melody from the main riff at the very end before looping back. So that's like a basic formula. So instead of having too many chords going around, jumping around, we're just gonna have a steadier rhythm, like a pedal note, and then we're gonna have a little bit of the melody brought back towards the tail end, to reminisce, and then to loop back into the riff. So something like this, for example. And then we can go into a different variation for the ending as well, like we did here, so that it leads into another section. So let's try that for now. Okay, that sounds pretty good, I think. The only mistake that I did was I have to start on the high E chord instead of the low E chord, because we ended this section on the high E. So it makes no sense to instantly drop back down. We have to start where we finished. played the wrong chord award. Alright, let's record the double for that. So the same thing again, and then we'll do the bass as well. Now the bass. Alright, now everything together, we can really tell if it sounds good or if it sounds like garbage. Okay, so since this is a verse, we probably copy this part one more time. There would be singing on top here. So, you know, you need space, like time for the lyrics to come in and out. And then we're going to go into like a pre-chorus section, which is probably going to be relatively short. And then we can have like a chorus or something like that. Okay, so I have a basic idea for a pre-chorus here. Let's just lay some drums first. We're going to go into the ride cymbal now, so we're going to change the cymbals again. I like to keep the drums as simple and as repetitive as possible for the first stint. And then later on, when I have a better idea of what the song is turning out to be, I can go back and add drum fills and little details to the drums and all that sort of thing. So that's kind of the easiest thing to do. So it's just, you just leave it for last. It's kind of like the icing on the cake. You don't have to worry about it when the cake is still being like baked, you know? So I want to start the pre-chorus with like a big open chord, which is going to contrast with the very rhythmic pattern from the verse. And then we're going to go into a little muted fill at the end and another open chord. So something like this. Something like that. Something like that. Just gotta play around with it a little bit, try to find the best like order for the notes and the chords. I'm not 100% on it yet, so let's just play around with it a little bit until I find something I'm happy with. I think that's pretty good. I end on the 4th chord on the first one, and then I end on the 1 chord on the last one. And then we can go into the chorus, which is probably either going to start on the 1 chord or the 5 chord. So let's just give that a try. Okay, so I took the liberty to record both parts there in a row, just to save time. This is something I do often when the parts aren't too difficult. I might have to re-record this later. I don't think it sounds the best. I think some of these open chords could have sounded better, but let's hear it. Okay, so little mistake here on the first part. Let's do that part again. Think that's better. Let's do the little pick scrape at the end here on the other side as well. By pick scrape, I mean this sound here at the end, like this thing. Which I didn't do on the first one. It just continued with the normal chord, with the open chord. There we go. And from there we go on chorus. But let's do the bass for this part first. You can do the pick scrape on the bass as well, because I'm playing with a pick. Although if you were a bass player, you'd probably play this with fingers, since it's pretty easy, and then you just do a finger slide. But I'm not a bass player, so. Yeah, the pick slide doesn't sound too good on the bass. I think I'll just replace it with a finger slide. This is what a finger slide sounds like. Okay, so now into the chorus, which is the, climax of the song, I guess. Well, it's not really the climax, it's more like the main attraction, I guess. So since the first parts of the song, usually, so sometimes the main opening riff will just be reutilized in the chorus. So like this riff. But since that's such a generic and a rhythmic riff, I don't really want to reutilize it. I'll probably play a little bit of it after the chorus, leading back into the verse or something like that. But I want to record something different for the chorus. So we're going to keep the cymbals, the right cymbals here for now. But I want something more melodic for the chorus. If you're making like a sing-along song, not only do you need like melodic vocals that can be sung along with, you need also a melodic backdrop to make those vocals really pop out. So if we're doing a vocal melody for the chorus, like something that I have in mind, something like a da-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na, na-na-na-na-na-na, like just something like that, just like a basic idea. Just take a basic idea for a melody, and then you try to create a riff out of it using the chords and the rhythms, just like we did here. It kind of sounds similar to the pre-chorus here. But we're going to go a little more melodic, so we're probably not going to use just chords. We can use single notes to do a melody, and then maybe we can add a harmony on top later or something like that to make a really big chorus. So something like that, that would be more melodic. I think I like that idea with chords just at the end of the melody. So I'm gonna have to practice a little bit to get it down. So let's just loop this and let's play around with it a little bit. Okay, so one thing I want to do is I want to really make those chords punchy. So instead of making like the picking like really fluid, like I'm gonna try to make it stabbier, like something like that. Let's just give it a shot. Just wing it. Yeah, I'm trying to decide on the second part there. I got the first part. I got the first part, the ta na 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 na, which ends on the fifth, on the 5 chord. I'm just trying to decide at the end if I should also go 6 5 3 1, or if I should go with the flat 5 5 3 1, which is like the difference, but is basically this. Versus that's like 6. The first one is 6 5 3 1. The second one is 5 flat 5 4 3 1. So it's slightly different progression. The second one sounds a little more evil, but it probably wouldn't sound as good as a vocal. So since you're writing a chorus, you've got to be thinking about the vocals. So I'm not sure. It'd be da na 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 Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Da-na-na-na-na. Da-na-na-na-na-na. Versus da-na-na-na-na-na. So the second one's gonna be a bit lower. I'm actually not sure which one is gonna sound better as a vocal. I'm inclined to go with the second one just so I repeat less chords. It's less of the same note being repeated. But I'm not entirely sure. Let's just record it and see if it sounds good. I played it wrong, the word. I still don't like the sound of that. I'm not sure. I think the 6531 just sounds better. It's a little more repetitive, but I think it just sounds better. The flat 5 is really um too dissonant for the chorus here. Okay, that was a little sloppy. I'd probably have to re-record that for a final take. But just for the sake of hearing it, let me sync it up here and play it. But yeah, wait, I synced it up with the end of the pixel light there. There we go. I think that's pretty good. That's pretty decent, I think. I think I can work with that. It needs to be re-recorded because it's super sloppy. But we're going to go with it for now. It's not a final take. We can just go back and re-record this part later. Let's just do the bass, so we'll have it, and then we can keep going. Yeah, I need to do the bass notes really stabby there with the chords as well. Yeah, and I can just copy that since it's the same for the time being. I don't know if I'll add a variation at the end yet. I could. I could not. It's not mandatory. It depends a lot on the content of the chorus. Yeah, then probably bring back the one repetition of the riff there. Repeat everything, honestly, for the like general songwriting structure. Okay, I think that's decent. I think it's overall a little boring, but that's kind of normal at the start of a composition like this. Like it's hard to make a masterpiece in an hour, you know? So it's like you start off with a really basic idea, you put your blocks together, put a foundation, and from there on you'd go back and say like maybe this opening riff is a little too generic. Maybe I can play something similar but a little more interesting and add a few different ideas there. Or I don't know, maybe I think for example the end of the pre-chorus here, I think it doesn't have enough tension leading into the chorus. It kind of leads too smoothly into the chorus, like this section. Like, it basically feels like a continuation of the same thing. It needs to have some tension here that's going to be relieved when the chorus hits. So I could probably, like, instead of just going down, I could probably go up, like I did, like, similarly to the opening riff. I could probably go up and make a better, like, more tense build up to the chorus. So something like this. Something like that. I kind of like that one. Let's try to put that one down. Like you hear the difference? You hear how there's like more tension, so that when the chorus hits, it feels a little bit more satisfying. So from here, I'd probably go into a small bridge and then a solo, and then there'd probably be another repetition of verse, pre-chorus, chorus, or maybe even skip the third verse, just go straight into pre-chorus, chorus, and then the third verse would be where the solo would be. So something like this, except here would be solo on top instead of vocals, and then we make a little bridge here that's different from the opening riff, different from everything else, really. Just kind of like, hey, something's changing now, something different's about to happen before you kick into the solo. And then you go back to the pre chorus, chorus, and then this would be the end of the song, and we'd have a roughly 4 minute long song, although probably could cut some fat off of it, honestly. It's got like two 16-bar verses and choruses, so there's a few tools you can use to cut that down. For example, first chorus could be half as short. So the solo doesn't need to be 16 bars, could just be 8. Things like that. You can cut off some fat. Like you can cut off like how much? Like 13 seconds here, 13 seconds there. That's like half a minute you've cut off the song. The song probably also wouldn't start like this. That's kind of a boring and abrupt start. So you'd probably make like a little intro for it. Not too long, just something to get you into the song without, slamming it in your face out of nowhere. And then also at the end here, probably a little outro. Just like maybe not a fade out, but maybe like the chorus ends and then there's like a little convention, like a little fill, and then the song ends. Or maybe like a post chorus, which is something you can also do. So it's like a slight variation of the chorus, a slightly different melody, kind of like the bridge where it's something that you haven't heard before, and that leads into the end. Just a few different things. If you really want to keep the song under 4 minutes as well, you can also just speed it up. Like we could just speed it up. Let's see what it sounds like at 155 or even 160. Let's just do 160 so it's a little more extreme. Let's just hear what it sounds like. Now, this is the part where you guys tell me in chat that it sounds better when it's faster. And then I'll tell you from personal experience that that might be just your brain misleading you. Because a common thing with composition is you spent an hour working and listening to the same thing in that same tempo. So the moment you change it, so you increase the tempo a little bit, or you just do something that makes it sound a little bit different, suddenly it's new information for your brain, and your brain is instantly more interested in it because it's just different from what it's gotten used to it. And that might not always be a good thing. So that's why, you need to be a little careful with things like that. That's why you don't write songs in a day, usually. You write your basic idea, you let it sit, you let it stew, you pick it back up a week later or something, and then you're going to listen to it and you're going to be like, wow, this part is really bad, or hey, this part is really cool, but I wish it was faster. Or hey, this part is a little too fast, I can't tell what's going on, it needs to be slower. That kind of thing. So yeah, you really need to dose it and you need to work on it in spurts so that you don't get too used to the song to the point where it's just boring slop and any little little change you make feels like it's brilliant, because that's not always going to be the case. So yeah, when you're working on a song properly, like, you need to take your time with it, let it stew, basically. So let's do a quick bridge here, and then we'll do a solo, like a really quick solo. Actually, I'm gonna skip the bridge for now because it's getting kind of late. Let's just do a little improv solo here over the top of the what would be the third verse, just so that we can mark it as the solo section, and I know to get back to it. But yeah, I'm just gonna do like one take improv. It's not gonna be a proper solo. It's probably gonna be very bad because I honestly haven't been playing guitar much in the last month. But it is what it is. We'll figure it out as we go. We're in the key of E Phrygian, also known as A minor here. So that's what we're gonna stick with. Nothing too fancy. We pretty much only have an E chord here, so it's nothing too special either. Just some improv over it, nothing too crazy. Yeah, that was pretty bad. There was a couple licks there that were a bit interesting. That's just what happens when you improv. It's like 90% garbage, and then you play like one cool lick. But it is what it is. Let's do another one. I feel like that was almost worse than the first one. Let's do it again. Solo's not gonna be this long. I'm just like yapping just on the guitar. Like you just keep going, and eventually something decent comes off. Let's try a different start. Let's try something a little bit faster at the start. Wait, hold on. I'm having trouble counting in properly, especially for the fast thing. Let me glue this together so I can come in from this section into this section. It's gonna be easier to get the timing right. I don't know. I don't like any of that, I don't think. I think I like the start of that one better with the repeated notes. I think that sounds kind of cool. Let me try to do that again. Yeah, something like that, except that one was very out of time. Okay. Like I said, solo's not going to be that long. I just keep going in case something decent comes out. I think I kind of like that start, so I'm just going to go with that. I'm just going to use this take. It's a placeholder take anyways, so just leave it for now. Let me just sync it. Yeah, it's super sloppy. There's plenty of mistakes there, but just as a draft, it works. It kind of works. It's kind of inaudible though, so what I need to do is I need to make the other guitars quieter. That's why I have this thing, which was basically going to lower everything here by 4 decibels when it turns on. Yeah, it's a pretty bad solo. I kind of like the beginning a little bit, like just this part. But I don't know, it could be a lot better. It needs to be more melodic. It's kind of just yapping. I'm not a good improviser. Usually when I do solos properly, it takes a lot longer. I kind of just listen and then I think of a little melody in my head and then I have to find that melody on the guitar. And I have to record that melody and I have to position it properly in the solo section. Then I have to do that again and again and again and again and again. So the solo just ends up being like 17 takes. But yeah, this as a draft, this works decent enough. It's just kind of so you know, oh, hey, here goes the solo. And yeah, then it'd go back into the thing, and the pre-chorus and the chorus. Then just needs an outro and an intro. So you'd probably end up with like a 4-minute song or something like that, which is a little longer than I'd hoped for. But then again, I can probably trim some fat off later on, especially when you start writing lyrics for it. You're often going to realize, like, hey, this section doesn't need to be that long. There's not too much to say here. Like, you don't need, like, 2 16-bar verses and 2 16-bar choruses. That's a bit overkill, I think. 3 16-bar choruses, actually. So yeah, probably the first chorus would be half. Like, this would go. Then maybe the last verse here, this would go, and then here. You could have the longer chorus at the end so people can sing along and all that. Maybe the solo could be shorter as well. Doesn't need to be 16 bars. Could be 8. This feels kind of fast. It's like a 27-second solo, which isn't too long. If you take like Tornado of Souls, I'm pretty sure you have like a 64-bar solo. Or 32, I don't remember. But it's almost like it's like a minute-long solo. Although the song is faster, so it's like more bars in less time. But that depends. Tornado of Souls is a pretty long song. So, there's all those things you gotta weigh in. It's got a lot of sections, but it is a much faster song. I think it's like, 170 BPM or something like that? Like this kind of rhythm. Probably even a little faster than that. Maybe like 175 or 180. So yeah, when you're doing a faster song, you can get away with fitting more sections into less time, which is why a lot of these bands choose to play fast, I think. Although sometimes they end up with 1.5-minute songs, so maybe not. Well, not Megadeth, but a lot of thrash bands out there. But yeah. That was 1 hour 20 minutes. I'm not sure if I like that or not. Maybe I'll wake up tomorrow and I'll listen to this when I get home from work and I'm gonna be like, wow, what a waste of 1.5 hours of my life. That's what happens like 80% of the time when you write a song. So it's probably not gonna be any different. It's a very normal reaction to something you just composed. But hey, that 20% is what we're going for. It's really, really trial and error process. So yeah, pretty basic song overall, but I kind of just wanted to do something that I was going to be able to talk about more easily as I went along. I hope you guys enjoyed that and maybe learned some from it, or not. Who knows? But yeah, I'd be happy to hear what you guys thought. Maybe not necessarily about the song, although you can give your take on that if you'd like as well. Maybe we can do some more streams like this in the future if you guys liked it. But yeah, that's gonna be all for tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed the different stream, and I'll see you guys on the next one. So yeah, bye bye and God bless. And if I ever get around to finishing or working on some more of this song, I'll definitely show it to you guys. So yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. leave a like. That'd be cool. And I'll see you guys some other time. Bye bye. Have a good one.